head layer, use my cutter tool and select this here, which is the eye, the second eye. Take my time and highlight around it. Press function 9 and notice here's another thing you need to also notice. You see the previous layer that you created, it will come up by default in your layer name box. So it makes it much easier for me. Instead of having to type out I again, all I have to do is just change this to number 2 and it creates a new layer right here, I2. Now, so we have the eyes that are on separate layers. Why we put the eyes on separate layers from the head? Let us say that you want to do a head turn. You're able to move the facial features, including the eyes and the mouth. That's why we put them on separate layers. But another important piece that we need to move is the pupil, because the character needs to be able to look left and right, up and down, because when your pupils, when they dart, you can see that there's eye movement there. So this part within the eye needs to be cut out. So I'm going to go to my cutter tool, highlight this area here, and I'm going to press function 9. So you see view underscore I1, I'm going to now change this to pupil 02. Why 02? Because it's over here. Click OK. When you look closely at this, this is how it looks. This is what it looks like in the drawing view. Later on, I'll clean it up where we're only seeing the pupil. Let's go over to the other eye. Let's go down to the head layer. Here. Use my cutter tool. I'm going to cut out this pupil right here. And press F9. I want to call this pupil 1. Move that up a bit. And this is what it looks like in the drawing view by itself. Next, we're going to cut the nose. We're going to go to the head layer. We're going to cut the nose. So just highlight the nose area here. Don't worry if you get a piece of the mouth in it. We can always clean that up from the drawing view. Function 9. And going to erase that and rename it nose, and it will create a new layer for the nose. Going to go back to the head layer. Remember, now we're cutting the different body parts from our existing layer. So I'm cutting all of the body parts from the head layer. That is why you see me keep going back to the head layer in the layers panel. Going to cut out the mouth. Going to highlight this area here. Going to press function 9, F9. And going to change this from nose to mouth. This is what it looks like in the drawing view. Later on, we'll click on that. We'll clean it up. If for any reason you're not seeing your drawing view in Toon Boom Harmony, what you can do, you see this little arrow right here, you can click on it and you can find your drawing tab. You can add it by clicking this little down arrow I'm getting it right there. That's just in case if you don't see it. All right, another body part that we need to cut out is the eyebrow. Because, you know, let's say he wants to raise his eyebrow. So, once again, we'll go back to the head layer and use our cutter tool. Highlight. Don't worry if you get a piece of the hair in it. It's better to have more than less. We can always clean that up later. Highlight that area and you press function 9 on your keyboard. Change that from mouth to eyebrow. Now here's the thing with the eyebrow. It's the same principle with the eyebrow. When you say eyebrow 01, eyebrow 02, but in this case, the character only has one eyebrow. That is because of his hairstyle. So I'm not going to put any numbers here. I'm just going to label it eyebrow. He only has one eyebrow right there. This is what it looks like in the drawing view. Later we'll clean that up. Now, what you will observe here too as well is that the body part, the facial features have been cut up. You might be wondering about the hair. Like in some cases, like if this was to be a very advanced rig, like we could even separate these hair strands here. Let's say wind is blowing or is moving and you want to show secondary action with these pieces of the hair. We can even go ahead and cut those parts up and have them individually as hair strands, but I'm not going to do it in this case for this character. We're creating a more simpler rig. But if you wanted your rig to be a little bit more complex, where you can do a bit more animation with secondary action with the hair, we would go ahead and cut up the hair and cut up different parts of it. But we're not going to do this for this character. All right, the next part that I'm going to cut is the neck. Now, to cut the neck, I'm going to go back to the, usually you realize that I was cutting stuff from the head layer. But the head layer does not have the neck. So in this case, I'm going to go to the view layer that has the neck on it. I'm going to go to my cutter tool and I'm going to highlight the neck area here. Remember, it's always best to have more than less. You press function 9. And you have the neck. We get rid of that part. And notice it creates a separate layer for the neck. And you'll also see that we got a part of the torso, the shirt here, and the top part of the head. When we're cleaning up, we clean that up, but not now. Let's continue with the cut-up process. Let us go towards the body now, the torso. Now, how I'm going to cut it, I'm going to cut the torso separate. So this triangle area here will be the torso. So, going to my cutter tool, or make sure that you're on the view layer. I'm going to cut out the torso area here. I made a little mistake right here. Let me re-highlight it. Press function 9. And this would be torso. That's the torso layer. Notice that on the torso layer, I got part of the leg and the arm. We're going to clean that up later. Let's go back to the view layer. I'm going to cut the arm. So I'm going to cut, there's several ways you can do this. I can cut like an upper arm and a lower arm, but I'm going to cut the entire arm as one. And then that's because I'm going to put a bone deformer on it so that it can bend. Use the cutter tool, highlight. Function 9. This is going to be arm 0, 1. Okay. Then go back to the view layer. We're going to cut this arm. Highlight it. We're going to press function 9. Instead of having arm 1, we change the 1 to 2. And that creates a separate layer over here. The arm 2 layer there. Now, from the arm layer, what I would do, I would cut the hand. You want to cut the hand separate from the arm. So that we can do different hand substitution. So there isn't any, with this particular character design, there isn't any proper, like, where to, how the line is drawn. It's hard to tell where the wrist would bend. So I'm going to estimate or guess where the wrist would bend when I'm cutting it. So I'm going to use my cutter tool. I'm going to say probably around here. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't on the arm layer. Try again. Around here. Press F9 and change that to hand. Go over to arm 2. We're going to cut this hand here. Cutter tool. Highlight. Function 9. Change that to hand. Change that last part to 2. This is what it looks like over there. All right. So we have the upper body. We have the entire upper body that's cut up. Now, let us focus on the lower body. This character does not have any hips. If you look at how the character is designed, he has a leg here, and you know, we could go ahead and put the character, we can put a bone deformer here, but I'm not going to put a bone deformer on it. We're not going to put a bone deformer. Instead, I'm going to I'm going to separate the lower part of the leg from the shorts area here. This is the shorts area. This is the lower part of the leg with the foot. So how we're going to cut it up, you're going to cut up this part as the thigh or the upper leg, whichever one you want to, I think I'll name it as thigh. And here I'll label as lower leg. And then I'm going to cut it again, and this would be the foot. Okay, so I'm back now. So the thigh, I'm going to cut this part here as the thigh. So what we do, we'll go back to the view layer here. And we use the cutter tool and highlight. You know what? Yeah, let me just start right with here. So I want to highlight here, up to here, function 9, and this is going to be 0, 1, thigh. I'm going to call it view thigh. going to go back to the view layer. I'm going to cut this part as the foot, the leg, lower leg. Or let me just call it leg. Make it much easier for me. So we know that the other part is the thigh. Highlight that part. Function 9. It's going to go and call this leg. And then now from the leg, I'm going to cut off the foot. Function 9. Change that to foot. And as you can see them starting to cut up in isolation on their the drawing view. So that's the first part of the leg. We cut up the thigh, the leg part, and the foot part. Now let's do this side. We'll go back to the view layer. So we're cutting from the view layer. With the cutter tool, going to highlight. Press. Function 9. This is going to be thigh. 0, 2. Instead of it being 0, 1, because we're dealing with this side, it will be 0, 2. Oh, we cut too much. Let me read. So the thigh should be up to this part here. And then now, go back to the view layer, cut the lower part of the leg. Remember that all of this is done with the cutter tool and not the select tool. Change this to leg. And then F9. This would be foot. So right now, we have the entire character cut up. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint so that you can have an understanding about the theory while we do the practical. If you look closely, notice it's the same thing. The mouth, cut up the eye, and the next step that we're going to reach is the cleanup process. So after the body parts are on different layers, you have to go back to each layer and delete the unnecessary drawings. You can clean up your drawing parts from your drawing view. So you see the example below. So in the case of Dino Boy, what I did when I initially cut his head, notice that it cut the mouth, the eyes, the hair, even the hoodie. What I did was to get rid of the hoodie, get rid of the neck, the mouth, the eyes, the hair, and the hoodie part, and this is what the head should look like. This is what the hair should look like by itself. This is what the eye should look like. The hoodie, because remember now, let's say you want him to pull back the hoodie. The hoodie should be designed or cut up in such a way where the animator can move back the hoodie. This is how the mouth should look. The neck, in this case, the neck should have like a rounded edge here, but the neck should still be in isolation. So this neck here needed some more work, but notice you're not seeing a piece of the head or you're seeing a piece of the body. It should actually extend down and have a round. You see like how this has a rounded edge right here? And see like how this is cut up for the upper arms, the hand, the leg, the body, the tail, and what will happen is that you see that we were cutting up all of our drawing parts. This is what your timeline, your layer panel should look like